Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks. My apologies for the delay. I had a little technical issue, but now we're back, ready to go. And I'm here to talk to you about the week that was in pro wrestling. So today, no Raw. I ended up watching the Jets. And, make fun of me for that all you will. However, I will continue with NWA Power and AEW Dynamite. Both really good shows, honestly. Start off with NWA Power. Lead in with a Tom Latimer hype video hinting at his future in the company. We'll get to that a bit later. But first, we got the Mid-America title on the line in a fatal four-way elimination match. Our participants, Jeremiah Plunkett, Mario Pardua, I hope I'm saying that name right, Hunter Drake, and Dante Casanova. Definitely a chaotic four-way. Very hard to keep track of everybody. Ultimately, our winner, after a big old eye-poke pile-driver combination, Jeremiah Plunkett, very regular on Power, at least in its early days, and now he's got a shiny new belt, which is always good to see. Next up, we head backstage for an interview with the Sinister Minister, aka Father James Mitchell, talking about Natalia Markova, saying Max didn't screw anybody. We went forward with the match, but not for the title. And I don't care how you win that title, you could in a tournament or whatever. But Max is moving on to bigger things, and she's coming for the women's world title. So Kenzie, we're going to be sending you back to the trailer park. Dem's fighting words from James Mitchell. Good Lord. That match is going to be fun. And it's at NWA 76, which is coming up. So that should be a fun one. Next matchup, a bit of a grudge match as Carson Drake takes on Brian Idol. A very interesting little matchup because you had Carson Drake kind of always taunting Idol, never really wrestling. Idol would get some stuff in, Carson would roll to the outside. Eventually, Idol has Drake up for his finish, but he pulls the referee in the way, then pulls the referee out of the way. I poke into a roll-up with his feet on the ropes, in which the ref didn't see, to pick up the win. So Carson Drake, interesting choice of winner, but I'm sure this will lead to more for this rivalry. And now we get to our second title match of the evening, as it's for the NWA National title, as Tom Latimer defends against Steve Boz, who apparently was around for the original run of NWA, which is very interesting. This match was pretty much Tom Latimer's brawling style versus Boz powerhouse style. In the end, Latimer wins with the brighter side of suffering. Then the interviewer comes in. We get an interview with Tom Latimer saying, NWA 76 is a day I've marked on my calendar for a while now. It's the most important date of my life. It's where I challenge EC3 for the NWA World's title. And while it pains me to do this, I need to close this chapter of being the national champion and move on to bigger things. And I just want you guys to be proud of me, but I got to do this for me. So a very heartfelt segment from Tom Latimer. He is definitely a proud champion, but he's ready to cash in. In which, that's something I'm a little weirded out by. Obviously, with the television title, you get the Lucky 7, in which you successfully defend 7 times in a row. You get a title shot. That makes sense. Now we're just cashing in the national title for a shot? I don't love it. I don't know. I guess it was established by, I want to say Silas Mason, but I believe it was earlier than that. And, I understand it's using this mid-card title to push people up to the world title, but just vacating it makes this title feel kind of pointless. Anyway, that's just me. And we go to our main event of the evening, as it's a tag team street fight, as Ella Envy teams up with Miss Star, who still has that neck brace on. We'll see if it affects her. Taking on Kylie and Kenzie Page of Pretty Empowered. And this was a pretty fun matchup, to be honest. They brought out all the weapons, the bejeweled baseball bat, a pink chair. Hell, they at one point went over to the merch table where Ella grabbed not a poster, but it was like a cloth flag of her and Kylie when they were Pretty Empowered, and started choking Kenzie with it. And then they brought out the Legos, the thumbtacks, the pretty much everything you could get your hands on in a wrestling match. But eventually, your winners, via the big drop kick, Pretty Empowered. It did kind of feel like they were rushing to get to the end of this match, but we'll see what happens. It was definitely a very good plunder match. Hopefully we'll see something out of Pretty Empowered in the future, as well as Miss Star and Ella Envy. So that was NWA Power. We then go to AEW Dynamite, where we kind of have a kind of mixed Jon Moxley promo and footage of Bryan Danielson getting carted out of All Out after Moxley attacked him. So Mox says in this promo, "What's done is done. Bryan, you don't have the stomach for this anymore. 2 years ago, we built something to be proud of. Not for money, but for pride, and you couldn't do it. AEW is growing with egos, and I can't take it anymore. Bryan, you are always the Lord's favorite." Mentioning William Regal, the original leader of the Blackpool Combat Club. Now he's in WWE. Nice little touch. He continues, "We are who we are. I'm no hero, but I know exactly why I'm here. I'm the one true king. Democracy has failed, and today I choose war." Alright. We have a goal for Jon Moxley and his group, who we will be seeing a little bit later. And then we cut to in the arena and a Christian Cage interview, where he said, "My son Nick told me that Christian Cage has infinite aura." Never use that speak again, Christian Cage. You're way too old for that. He continues, "It's undeniable. I run AEW. It's bad we had the Trios title stolen from us, but we bounced back. And I saw something in Killswitch that I haven't seen yet. The light bulb went off for him in the casino gauntlet, and now he knows what he needs to be. He needs my monster. And on my way to cash in at All Out, it wasn't the right time or place. Brian, your days are numbered. And I'm going to beat you so bad that you will wish your wife, Brie, had CTE. Bringing Brie Bella into this. Holy crap. And then he calls himself the next undisputed AEW champion. Christian Cage is AEW champion. I'm going to say I am not against it. Like, I feel like that could be really good. And would be a great way to get maybe Ospreay versus Christian Cage. Just kind of spitballing. Anyway, speaking of Will Ospreay, we get a Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, Don Callis interview, where Callis pretty much takes the lead. He says, look, I got a great idea. Ospreay, why don't you team back up with Fletcher to win the gauntlet? Ospreay starts to retort saying, man, I got a lot on my plate. I don't know if I can do this. You'll have Takeshita already. Then Don Callis says, clearly you've owed me a favor. This is the favor I'm cashing in on. Then Fletcher intervenes, says, I'm tired of coming up close and failing. I want to win. Then Ospreay turns around. He gives Fletcher a big old hug, saying, I cannot say no to you. He gets a high five to Callis, turns right into Takeshita, who is staring daggers at him, and Callis, Fletcher, and Ospreay leave. So, that's an interesting little situation to keep your eye on. Next up is our first of a couple of title matches tonight, as the TNT title is on the line, as Jack Perry defends against Lio Rush. And oh boy, what a rush it was. This was a just fun mile-a-minute match that it really needed to be. And anyone saying poop about Jack Perry, look at this match and tell me he isn't a great wrestler. Lots of really good back and forth. Lio Rush was going for a tornado DDT that gets caught by Jack Perry. Gives him the snake eyes in the corner, which haven't seen that in a while. Only gets a 2 count. Lio Rush goes for a cutter. Kind of botched a little bit. But then Jack Perry with a couple running knees to pick up the win and retain his title. So next we see Jack Perry. He's walking along in the back. Interviewer comes in. He says, people like me are disliked. You can bring all the horse shit you want. And we're going to see who's in the main event. Then he gets back on his scapegoat bus and he leaves. We then cut to a different part of the arena for a Hangman Adam Page interview. He says, if I have found 1,000 hours on Swerve, the cage didn't raise, I beat Swerve for 1,000 hours. People there, make no mistake, I meant it. If you got in my way, I will find you and I will hurt you. So, then he breaks off from the interview, walks past a couple of security guards, runs into Top Flight, who kind of nod at him. Walk along a little further, walk into Dark Order, where Evil Uno says, man, we used to be friends. What happened? Some fighting words from Evil Uno, Jesus. And then, finally, he runs into Jeff Jarrett, with Jarrett saying, I've seen guys go your path before, it always ends in some place, some dark place. You're going to regret laying hands on my wife. And then Hangman and Jarrett just brawl, ending with Hangman throwing Jarrett into a couple of equipment boxes. Holy heck, Hangman Page Jeff Jarrett feud? Gonna be interesting, I will tell you that. So this next match never really got started, as we had Private Party and teaming with Commander to take on 3 enhancement talents. I'll give them that respect. And as Private Party and Commander are making their entrance, the Blackpool Combat Club attack both parties and just lay out all 6 guys. Then Pac gets on the microphone, says, "We've been very patient. Enough is enough. This company is broken. We are inevitable. This has been festering for a long time. Diplomacy has failed. This company is off." And just kind of throws down the microphone and leaves. Yeah, this whole new Blackpool Combat Club thing is intense. It's great, and I love it. Do not include Shane McMahon in this. Shane should have nothing to do with this. Anyway, that's my little soapbox. This next match, it's a match I never thought I'd be able to see, but I am so glad I did, as it's Ricochet making his second singles match, taking on Sammy Guevara. And oh boy, did these 2 guys have some great chemistry. Like, they were hitting everything on each other. Enziguris, big dives, destroyers, cutters, all kinds of stuff. At one point near the end, Sammy Guevara is about to hit the GTH. Ricochet gets out of it. It's a big old knee, some kicks, into a Falcon Arrow, which I never hear the actual name of the finish, to pick up the win. Then post-match, as Ricochet's celebrating, the Beast Mortis attacks Ricochet from behind. Sammy Guevara, being the good guy that he is, makes the save and runs off Mortis. Mortis versus Ricochet. Yes, please. Yes. I will pay good money to see that. We then get a slight recap of the Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander street fight from All Out. We then cut to a Kazuchika Okada interview, who's like feigning the stress, saying, "Defending title at All Out, it's the hardest night of my life." Then he comes back in, is about to say a little bit more. In comes Don Callis, who says, "All Out was really a great night for you, but you didn't pin Takeshita." Takeshita then gets into Okada's face. Okada then says, "He doesn't have what it takes to be champion." Walks off, walks back. Bitch. I love this. I know this isn't like super wrestler Okada, but Troll Okada we're getting here in AEW might be one of the greatest characters AEW have ever had. So then coming out, we got a Darby Allin in-ring promo. He comes, and honestly, at one point, I thought it was someone else. Like, I thought it was Jon Moxley dressed up as Darby Allin, which I think would have been funny. Darby Allin gets on the microphone and says, "Someone has been looking for me. I'm right here." So then out comes Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir. Then Marina Shafir gets into Darby Allin's face, which is interesting. Then Moxley pretty much says, look, I don't know what you think you saw. Nothing has changed between you and I. And before Mox can continue, Darby says, enough. We don't act like superstars. We came from nothing to be here. We don't take this for granted. My first year in wrestling, I was looking for someone to look up to. And whenever I think I found them, they let me down. Then I found you, and I liked what I saw. You didn't do it for money. You still do the independence for the love of the sport. And while I did lose in our first match up, but when you think you found someone to consider your family, then you attacked Brian. Then you called me out. What do you want? So then Moxley replies, you have a title shot. That's obviously not happening with Brian out. And it's clear you're not ready. And while I don't have time to explain, you need to hand over your title shot to me. Then Darby replies, didn't you hear me? You didn't earn this. I did. If you want it so bad, do something about it. Then Mox replies, alright, September 25th, Grand Slam. It's going to be you versus me with your shot at the title on the line. And you're going to see where you sit on the food chain, which is underneath me. And you have no idea what's going on. That title shot will be mine. And I will teach you a lesson the hard way. Fighting words by Mox. Darby Allin replies, you want to burn AEW to burn down? Don't be surprised when I throw you into the fire. Hot dang. That was a good promo by Darby Allin. Now, we'll get to what's going on a little bit later. Originally, Darby Allin had that title shot pretty much booked for Grand Slam, but apparently they're selling Bryan Danielson's injuries, although we'll get to that in a second. So then we have Christopher Daniels in the back for an interview, saying Darby's that gamble seems unnecessary. Before he can continue, Nigel McGuinness shows up. He says, I need to have a word with Tony Khan. So then he and Christopher Daniels walk off screen. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. Ooh. You got a nice 9/11 tribute, which never forget. We then go into a championship qualifying match where if the challenger wins, they're up next for a title shot. As Mariah May takes on Queen Aminata. And I'm going to say this, Queen Aminata has improved greatly. Not that she was ever really bad, but this being her first TV match in a while, she looked like she belonged. She looked like she can really compete with some of the best AEW has. Eventually, Mariah May wins with the Storm Zero. As she's celebrating, she gets the mic. And she gets on it. She says, I still have my title celebration coming up. Salt Lake City, someone is missing. Mina Shirakawa, please come back. Now, the last time we saw Mina Shirakawa was a couple nights before All In, where she said between the feud between Mariah May and Toni Storm, she's staying out of it. AKA, she's going to Japan. So, having Shirakawa back in AEW, I'm in. We then head to the Young Bucks locker room where they start a promo saying, we wanted the best tag division in the world when we started. We are the tag division. We're still here doing the heavy lifting. Don't be mad at us. Be mad at the teams who haven't stepped up. And tonight in the gauntlet, anyone can get the shot and face us at Grand Slam. And we'll be out there watching live. Okay. Definitely Young Bucks getting some front row seats. I like that. Then we get a recap of Jamie Hayter's recent return, which is always nice. Wish she was on this show. Next up is this very odd match, as it's Chris Jericho, Brian Keith, and Big Cass of the Learning Tree taking on Boulder, Bronson, and Jack Jameson of the Iron Savages. I haven't seen the Iron Savages in a while. But yeah, this was mostly a squash match for the Learning Tree, with a win after a Brian Keith Diamond Dust, which is crazy to see. Jericho tags in, gets the pin, gets the win. And as they're celebrating, Jericho grabs a microphone, saying, "Here I stand with my jacket. I paid $7,000 for it, which Orange Cassidy ruined by dumping orange juice on it." That was like 4 years ago now. Jesus. Orange, I want my money back. But obviously I'm not getting that. So I'm going to take your backpack and sell off your things. So he opens up Orange Cassidy's backpack, saying, "I saw something interesting in here." And he pulls out a framed photograph of Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and I'm blanking on the other guys. Trent Beretta, aka the Best Friends. Jericho then continues, "This is your problem, Orange. There really are no friends in wrestling. Forget about your friendships and pay me back." So then Cassidy, who's now on the Titantron, he's in the parking lot saying, "Chris, I obviously have your money, but I don't have it all on me. But my boys do have it." It then pans. We see Kyle O'Reilly and Mark Briscoe driving a front loader, a little cat car, if you will. And it's full of... It goes up, they drive up to Jericho's car and dump pretty much loose change into it, which is freaking hilarious. Then we see Cassidy, wait, takes a couple of quarters and then puts down a $5 bill. And then he says, "That should cover it." Alright. So this Orange Cassidy Jericho feud is never ending. We need to get Orange Cassidy away from him. So that was that. We then get a Nigel McGuinness in-ring promo saying, "I got something I need to get off my chest." And now an AEW title match. Great for the champ. But he could be attached to an iron lung, so not so good for AEW. But at Grand Slam, we are clearly going to have the champ compete, which brings me to this. He has a sheet of paper. He says, "How many years have I watched from the sidelines? Should have been everything that you have should have been mine. Brian is afraid to wrestle me. Tony Khan isn't afraid. Tony knows a money match when he sees one, so at Grand Slam, it's going to be me versus Bryan Danielson. And I'll guarantee you, Oasis will play me to the ring. Brian, join me in the final countdown, or was All Out the final match of the American Coward. The ball's in your court. A potential Bryan Danielson Nigel McGuinness match in 2024? Yeah, I'm in. And for those of you uninitiated who don't know, back in ROH, before Tony Khan even thought about owning it, way before AEW actually, Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness had some stiff matches. Like, they looked like they wanted to hurt each other. They were great rivals. I forget what put Nigel McGuinness out of action, but he had to retire. And now it looks like he's back as a part-timer, which, very interesting. Gonna see if this match actually goes down, but we shall see. We then get a pre-recorded Hook promo, which does... These look a little awkward. So, he says, "For years, you were one of my favorite wrestlers." This is to Roderick Strong. "I respected you until your buddies jumped me. You're not the Roddy I know. I beat a legend for this title at All In, and I'm waiting for the answer. I'm waiting for you to take this from me anytime, any place. More than likely, this is going to be on Grand Slam. We'll see if this gets advertised." And now we come to our main event, in which sitting pretty much at the top of the ramp is the Young Bucks, our World Tag Team Champions, for the Tag Team Casino Gauntlet match. Where basically, it's kind of Royal Rumble-esque, where the entrants come in one at a time. This time two, because it's tag teams now. But apparently, it's one fall to the finish, and you can get the fall just at the start, which is very interesting. So starting us off is FTR, aka Dash Wilder, Cash Wilder and Dax Harwood, taking on Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. Definitely an interesting place to put these guys. Some great chemistry out of these two teams. I wouldn't mind a serious one-on-one between the two. You had a bunch of near falls, a bunch of other really cool stuff. Third entrant, it's Vincent and Dutch of the Righteous. You dig what I'm saying? They immediately get on FTR's case, including a big old boss man slam from Dutch. Fourth team in, it's the Acclaimed, who got a nice little reaction. Get right in there, pretty much go right after FTR. They go a little back and forth for a while. Team 5, the MXM Collection, aka Mansoor and Mace Madden, which definitely great to see them on the bigger stages. Eventually, FTR hit a shatter machine, only get a 2 count. Next team in, it's the Outrunners, a nice little independent tag team, kind of Hulk Hogan-esque, very fun. A lot of people had them as the winner, but we'll see about that. Next team in, we have the Grizzled Young Veterans. However, before they could get down the ramp, FTR meets them on the ramp and they brawl to the back. So the teams are right there with each other. A lot of really good back and forth. Fletcher was set up for a frog splash that gets blocked. Ospreay with a quick hidden blade. So your winners, and moving on to Grand Slam, Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. This was definitely a fun Casino Gauntlet. It was a little tough to keep up with everything, but I thought this was a lot of fun. Am I a little mad the Outrunners didn't win? Maybe a little bit. But Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, it's not like they're some thrown together tag team. They were in a stable for years in Japan, the United Empire. Although Fletcher's regular tag team partner, Mark Davis, is currently out hurt. So, although maybe we'll see him at Grand Slam make a replacement or something. I don't know. I think it could be interesting. So, that should do it for this week in wrestling. Hope you all enjoyed. Monday, we'll probably be covering SmackDown, Rampage, and Collision. And coming up soon, we got Bad Blood, the return. After a good couple years of being absent. And, of course, the return of Hell in a Cell. That should be a fun one. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.